posterior chain is often underemphasized. So people are stronger on the anterior side than they are on the posterior side, and the imbalance can create some injury risk. So if you're like me and you're trying to catch your posterior side up to your anterior side to some degree, here's some body weight movements you can do. Starting, this is just a standing hinge. This is not that hard on its own. It's not going to move the needle that much if you're already an athlete that's been training, but it's a great place to start. And even just doing this will help you understand what the proper hinging movement feels like. It's still getting reps where you're coordinating the posterior chain of your body. To get a little more interesting, we can start hinging on one foot. Let one foot come back. If you want to add a little more difficulty to it, you can reach out. To take this one step further, you can increase the balance difficulties and also the tension on the posterior chain by going all the way down to a single leg deadlift. You'll notice I'm keeping my shoulders parallel to the ground. One thing you'll see people do is kind of open up their top shoulder and their top hip, but you want to try to keep that shoulder and hip square to the ground at all times to keep that proper form. Of course, with any single leg exercise, you want to make sure you hit both sides with even reps. In order to make sure that you do even reps on both sides, I recommend starting on your weaker side, which for me is my left. You don't get those extra reps and then try to do it and you're unable to do it on the left side, which would just increase the imbalance over time. Get even reps on both sides. Try to find a rhythm. You got to keep in mind, we're not using weights. This is primarily a coordination, proprioception exercise. And really, so you're focused on the proprioception for the balance, but when it comes to the coordination, it's your glutes and hamstrings. There is a most efficient motion path where you're coordinating the firing of your glutes and your hamstring muscles so that you can move smoothly and maintain your balance. And that's really the most valuable part of these bodyweight exercises. When you don't have a ton of weight, it's good to get moving and doing something. So those are the basic movements. Another one I like, which I've got other videos posted, which I'll post in the description here, but it's the founder. And so for this is an isometric exercise, meaning that you don't move throughout the exercise. You find this position and remain static. This is the primary position. This is the core founder. You'll see I'm pushing my hips back really as far as I can hold them. So the weight's in my heels, but I'm still digging my big toes into the ground. In my lower half, I'm focused on squeezing my legs together without actually sliding my feet towards each other and without letting my knees kind of collapse in. So my knees are staying firm, kind of pointed slightly outwards, but I am still squeezing my legs together. That's activating the insides, which support the back muscles from the front. So that's what's going on in the lower half. On the upper half, the focus should be on the shoulders being pulled down as far as they can go down towards your waist. While that's happening, they're rolling back. You're squeezing them towards your shoulder blades and down. So you're really finding the bottom of that zone. And while that's happening, the flip side of that is your chest is opening. So you can either think chest is opening or shoulders are pulling back and down. Either way, you're getting to the same goal of getting to this position in the upper body. You raise your hands up, keeping them close. So it's not a wide position. It's keep them close and keep the elbows in tight. You don't want your palms to be down and elbows out. You want to try to keep the shoulders rolled back, and if they are rolled back, your hands should be facing each other or even facing up above. So the way I typically do this is hold it for sets of 15 seconds at the top and 15 seconds at the bottom. This exercise in particular is based on the work of Dr. Eric Goodman. He's a chiropractor who had back issues. And so he had the chiropractor's mindset, but he kind of built these exercises in a more physical therapist style. That's just me giving my opinion on his style. But regardless, this is the core exercise he uses in his program to teach people what a proper hinge should feel like. What muscles are firing in the lower back, what muscles are firing in the glutes, what muscles are firing in the hamstring. So the hinge is your strongest lift for most people. Like, there's some people who are different, but on average, if you take a large group of people, the deadlift is going to be what they can do the most weight with, whether it's kettlebells or dumbbells or barbell, they're going heavy. And so more so than the squat, more so than anything in the upper body. So when you're doing just body weight, you're not loading your posterior chain as much as you could, most likely, unless you're coming back from an injury or something like that. So it's important, you got to focus more on the coordination, and that's really the most you can get out of these body weight exercises. But that's really important. And it's not important because those reps in these training sessions give you a super strong posterior chain, but it's important because let's say you're a long distance runner and you need to work on your posterior chain. You can do these movements, build that coordination, and then take those little nuggets, those little feelings that you feel while practicing the coordination in these controlled situations, and take them to a less controlled environment on your runs or in your sport or whatever else you like to do when you're moving. So it's all about just optimizing the movement patterns of the movements you're already doing. Maybe you're experiencing hamstring weakness or lower back pain, or you just know that you need to work on your posterior chain. You can add these elements here, bring them out to wherever you like to do your thing.